Marawila. I'm the president of Women for Water Partnership, and Women for Water Partnership is a organization of women organizations and networks. And our main objective is to empower women through water. So we want to stimulate women as experts, as agents of change in the water sector, and educate them and empower them. We're a global organization, and we're here in beautiful Sri Lanka to have our General Assembly with 26 of our members. They're coming from all over the world, Suriname and South America, to Europe, to Africa, and to Asia.
Today, the session now, we will have two goals. One is for learning and sharing, so together learn from each other. And the second goal is that we do an inventory to know what kind of systems are already in place, so we can build on what's already there to make a good monitoring system which is compatible.
Regional level to advocate for issues which we want to be raised all the way up, like the International Water and Women Year. So if we engage our regional governments like that, they will definitely take that as an advocacy issue. We have that can also be used, that we can empower women, capacitate women to advocate for issues, to do examples and do some work for themselves. So that is something which we should look into as a very good idea from Natal. If we can look at such issues and advocate for our, you can see the importance of us having hubs. That way we will definitely feed and empower our movement as Women for Water, and Women for Water can have a stronger voice internationally.
Especially monitoring on disaggregated data. First of all, we have to implement some pilot based on what, for example, water indicator to see the situation inside the country. Then you can, if you have interesting data or something can result on changing minds of ministries or governmentals, then you can submit this information and show that it is working, it is interesting, and you have to implement such kind of project. So it can be started from the pilot project.
I think the hub can work in two ways here. One is to build capacity in an organization which would then link up with a lot of community and local level partners, which we are doing anyway, but in our different capacities.
Because we think that is very, very important, particularly when you are developing your proposal, which helps to see how the project or whatever proposal is going to reach the results, what are the long term, what are the mid term, and what are the short term. Even though we also realize that currently there are so many donors they don't do with the logical framework, but it's a very important document that can be very useful when we do the monitoring and evaluation system. So we said we need to have a monitoring and evaluation system, because as we monitor at the end of the, we say mid-term or end of the project for 5 years, you have to do the evaluation according to the indicators. So if we have the monitoring and evaluation system which goes together, makes life very, very easy, rather than have a monitoring system on its own and an evaluation system on its own.
Of course, it is not very accountable because the pilot projects, maybe the local organizations, national organizations, make an implementation. The target group is only 300 people, so it is not easy to collect disaggregated data. And the governments, especially from the east part of the world, use United Nations data or other supranational bodies data, but they are also not very transparent because they take a population, small population, mostly 1,000 people, and then project it. However, the national implementations of the project and the projections from the supranational bodies are not very accountable. However, we have to push governments to collect disaggregated data.
So we had a nice cross-cutting viewpoint that came in. On question number 1, all 4 of the member organizations felt that they've experienced personally the increase in political will within just a period of 2 years. So we agreed that water as the ability to increase capacity for women's empowerment was a key, and it was working. However, the experience of that has been at the local council level and perhaps as high as the district level. Anything past that has not been part of the experience. So,
And how can you calculate that then?
and that's kind of where we got stuck, is how can we translate that? So one suggestion might be, number 1 is we need capacity building when it comes to collecting the data. There's, again, communication challenges, and for Women for Water Partnership to be able to reverse the data so that it not only flows up, but we also send it back to our member organizations so they can actually show their colleagues how this data works in the policy-making procedures would be extremely helpful. And we need to have this in small bites.
To think first about what are you monitoring and what was the situation before realizing something and after realizing something. You have to look at the situation before and after realizing something, and then you can monitor. And that way, I contributed in this way that, for instance, the River Women Group were women really who were not really, were taken just like nothing. But in a way of, because they were empowered through Water for Women Partnership and activities that they did, from nothing, they went to the office of state for the district. Now they are the partner in the district. And I think that one is one of the measures that you can see that when women are empowered, they are able to, then you can monitor it. Then you can see that from nothing they went to something.
So you mean baseline studies, what I hear you say?
Yes, and I think also you need a structure, something structure for all those Water for Women Partnership members, that which feels to everyone, that you can collect the results of the activities that we are doing, and from there you can monitor.
I was involved with an EU project for several years ago, and then for the EU it was important, it was about awareness raising, how many times we had an article in a newspaper, how many meetings we had, and how many people were there around, and also when it was social media, how many followers you have like that. So you can also have accountable about your reach of the things you have done. So smart.
Well, I think if I listen to all the comments, then there are 2 things. One, the interesting part is that we are always advocating for qualitative data, and what I hear is qualitative storytelling. We're strong in that. The problem is that we don't translate it in such a way that somebody who cannot hear the story still understands what we have done. So that's, I think, is the big challenge. The second one is that if you do monitoring, then the data have to tell you something. So the interesting part, for instance, from the example that Marion gave, is of course that the number of followers doesn't tell you anything about whether those people actually understood what they read. So it might tell you something about how many times people look at your Facebook, but it doesn't tell you whether you have been successful in transmitting the idea. So what you see coming up is that they not only say the followers, but they say who actually engaged. So who gave a comment. That tells you a little bit more than just that people were reading it. So there's a development there also to go from just the number into what the effect is. And the example in our field is that we basically know how many people in the world have a tap, have a tap. What we do not know is whether water is actually coming out of it.
Questions on the income and expenditure. Actually, the Secretariat managed to strictly follow what was decided by the General Assembly in 2015 in South Africa. So in between, we don't have any surprises except good surprises.
I think every single one of us has to try to get articles in a newspaper, like we got an article in a newspaper, the national newspaper here in Sri Lanka.
All very warmly to explore wet and wild Anavilundava. It's very difficult to pronounce, I know, Anavilundava. Literally meaning a collection of different pools of water. Actually, it's a very beautiful and important wetland in Sri Lanka. It has been assigned as one of the 6 Ramsar sites, Ramsar wetland sites in Sri Lanka. That is not only to Sri Lanka, it's worldwide important. Why this wetland is important is it harbors a lot of aquatic biodiversity. If you are lucky, you might be able to see a lot of birds. Last week I went there and I also have seen maybe 30-40 species of different aquatic birds. And actually the migrant birds are coming. I have seen only 2 species, but in November, you can even see flying birds as well. This trip has 2 components. So once you go to Anavilundava, that is the wetland, the marshy area, water and birds and big trees.
Not getting anything, and that's not. Right, please. Now you can see some plants over here, little plants which are known as lichens. These lichens are found areas where the air quality is 100% pure. So, but this is an indicator species where if you have lichen, the air quality is very good. This kind of lichen. So, yeah, this has a very good quality air. And this is one of the Ramsar wetland sites in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we have 6 such sites which are internationally important because of the biodiversity it supports. So this particular wetland harbors several, more than 50-60 species of birds, out of which you can see nearly 20 odd bird species today. But for you to identify, you have to have a good pair of binoculars. And the other, I told you at the beginning, that I can show you some human activities. So sorry, no. And if you open this, can you see? Yes, you drink it. You drink.
පන්තිය කියන ගම්මානයේ තියෙන එකම රජයේ ආයතනය තමයි මේ පාසල.
So this is the only school of this area which is known as Mutupantiya school.
මේ පන්තියේ මුතුපන්තිය ගම්මානයේ ඉන්න ළමයි තමයි ඉන්නේ. ළමයි 110ක් දැනට බොහොම දුෂ්කරතා මැද්දේ අධ්‍යාපනය ලබනවා.
One of the most poorest schools in the area, which accommodates 110 children of the fisherman community.
With a school of 120 pupils who are not very rich, I think that it's amazing what the teacher you just saw has done to be able to give these girls lessons and also to make sure that they get their exams and they're at a very high level. We just heard. So maybe we can look into this and try as women to get this organized for your school.
National Working Conference, we had that wonderful project in 26 hospitals. So I'm looking for something like.
Women for Water is really happy to be here and impressed, very impressed. This is what we want. We want women and girls to be educated and to be able to be experts and women agents of change in the future.
Good. So, this is beautiful.
Thank you for coming for this interesting joint exercise, Gender, Agricultural, Water and Big Data, a collaboration between the International Water Management Institute and the Women for Water Partnership. You know, you are in the land of serendipity. It was quite serendipitous that we had this General Assembly of the Women for Water Partnership in Sri Lanka, and of course India is based in Sri Lanka. So there we are, we get together, and I hope that we can come up with an activity, an output which is very important at the onset of thinking about the SDGs. But being in Sri Lanka, we would like to start up with the Sri Lankan way of inaugurating anything of importance, especially related to education, awareness building, and that is the land lighting ceremony. So I would like to ask Alan and our chair, Marit, to come up and light the lamp. And from Europe, Diana Iskreva, please. And most of all, I'm very happy to invite our birthday girl, Marion, to come up and light the lamp. Happy birthday, Marion. Very, very happy returns of the day.
I also mentioned that you were having your General Assembly here in Sri Lanka. We realised that it would be a fantastic opportunity to tap into your experience, expertise, your global knowledge on water issues in relation to development more generally, but specifically around the area of agricultural water, is that the interconnection of water is such that it's very difficult to distinguish one particular usage from another. So what is done in agriculture can have an enormous impact on water supply and vice versa. So this meeting is really about trying to dig down, think about this relationship, gender, water and agricultural development, in the context of the SDGs. So fresh from New York, the SDGs are now the kind of guiding light, the lantern if you like, that the development community will be particularly focusing on in coming years.
And I think, you did mention that, Women for Water seems to be more focused on water supply and sanitation. But most of our member organizations work in the rural sector, which means that agricultural water is always a priority. And specifically, I think that W+ from Nepal and Net Water from Sri Lanka works almost entirely in the
member of the steering committee of the Women for Water Partnership.
My name is Anne Jenskens and I'm the director of Women for Water Partnership based in the Netherlands.
I'm Vikram Sinha, an academic from the District Colombo, representing Net Water Sri Lanka.
I'm Bhaja Kamalrasa, representing Sri Lanka Water Partnership, Sri Lanka.
Hello, my name is Annie Dunewit. I'm from
I represent the National Committee on Women of the Ministry of Women's Affairs, and apart from that, I'm a member of the Net Water of Women Professionals.
My name is Marta Korchibuk. I am from Ukraine. I am the
very happy to be here with so nice woman.
Hi, I'm Myron. I represent Lanka Limited, CSR Division.
Hi, I'm Shehara. I represent
Water Sanitation and Hygiene.
Good morning, I'm Evelyn Muti from Uganda. I'm the Executive Director of Uganda Women for Water and Sanitation.
Women for Water Partnership and Forever Foundation based in Bulgaria.
Hi, good morning. I am Arzu from Turkey. I represent BPW International. I am the Vice President of BPW International for the United Nations.
Good morning, everybody. I am Milan Adhikari from Nepal, and I represent W+ Women Professional Language Sector, and this is a network organization and the member country of the Women for Water Partnership. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lilian Yundi from Tanzania, East Africa. I'm representing TGNV, Utanda, Tanzania Gender Networking Program, a leading women rights organization in Tanzania. We're also a member of.
Good morning, my name is Marie Verhoef-Cohen. I'm the chair of Women for Water Partnership. I'm, of course, also a member of the steering committee and represent also the Surroundings of Europe. And I totally agree. We also go for water for all users. So agriculture is definitely one of the cross-country cuttings.
Good morning. My name is Arya, researcher from International Water Institute.
Good morning, I'm Marion Verkleij. I am a member of the steering committee of Women for Water, and I am also a member of Trivio, a women's organization in the Netherlands.
Good morning, my name is Kathy Kelly. I'm from the United States. I'm on the steering committee for Women for Water Partnership and a member of Business and Professional Women International.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Faye Golle. I work for the Secretariat of Women for Water Partnership.
Wow, incredible group in the room, and we're privileged to have you here in this particular event. I want to just say a few more things, and then we'll hand over to Leshka, who's going to kick off with I'm sure, a very pithy presentation. You'll see there's a camera crew working around the room. We agreed with Kusum that we would do good media for this event, and one of those objectives of ours really is to capture your individual views. So not just shots of another workshop, but actually getting you to talk to camera